As we prepare to center ourselves, we come to focus on our sacred word, on our yes to God, and we bring our body to the help of that intention. Whether you're sitting on a cushion or on a chair with your feet flat on the floor, your back is straight and your hands are resting comfortably, either on your thighs or in your lap, with nothing tangled up. Now close your eyes lightly. Bring your attention to the crown of your head and just feel the weight of your head on your shoulders. Let it just sit on your shoulders, allowing any tensions, any furrows in your brow to smooth out, allowing the corners of your eyes to drop down, your cheeks to melt away, and the corners of your mouth to drop down too. Now bring your attention to your shoulders and let them just sit on top of your body. You don't have to be holding them up. Then let the whole of the upper part of your body just drop down from your shoulders. Drop down to the seat of your chair and let the chair take your weight. Feel the heavy muscles in your thighs. Let them drop down. You don't have to manage anything just now. Now let your legs just hang down from your knees and drop to the floor. And now bring your awareness to your breath. Be aware of the breath flowing in and the breath flowing out. You're not trying to alter your breath, not trying to force anything. You're just observing the breath flowing in and the breath flowing out. The breath flowing in and the breath flowing out. Accepting the inflow and surrendering the outflow. So now you are ready to take up your sacred word, your mantra, to begin to say it inside of yourself from your heart center. Listening to the sound of it as you say it, giving it your attention, but without strain. There's no need to fight your distractions. Let them go by saying your word faithfully, gently, and attentively. And every time your attention has wandered off, which it will, whenever you recognize that your attention has wandered off, bring your attention back to the sound of your word, back to the sound of your yes to God.
Health is our capacity for wholeness. What do we mean by health? The World Health Organization came up with a couple of definitions of health. The level of functional or metabolic efficiency of a living organism, free from illness, injury, or pain. Rather idealized, and maybe we might say a rather mechanized view of health, taking a sort of mechanical model to describe the human person. Another definition, a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So again, rather idealized idea of health, that there will be complete physical, mental, and social well-being. These represent rather medicalized or idealized views of what health means. It doesn't bear much relationship to our own experience of health. We are rarely as metabolically efficient as in the first definition, and if we are, as soon as we realize that we are in this state of metabolic efficiency, we begin to wonder how long it will last. So very quickly we become subject to fear or anxiety or insecurity about this efficiency that we call health. What about aging? More and more people are spending more and more fortunes on denying or resisting, trying to reverse the aging process. So is that a medical condition or merely a technological problem that we will have to solve, maybe not just through creams and gels or injections, but also maybe through organ replacements and technical miracles? What about death? The awareness and the fear of death is never far from surface. We repress the fear of death. Is death a medical condition? Do we approach death just in terms of clinical procedures, which ultimately fail? Because death is a failure in the medicalized view of health, the purpose of which is at least to keep you alive. But St. Benedict has another approach to it. St. Benedict says, always remember that you're going to die. Keep it constantly before your eyes. Now, he doesn't mean go around thinking about death all the time, but don't repress it. Benedict is not being morbid, he's expressing a universal spiritual practice, really, which you find in Buddhism and elsewhere, being memento mori, being aware, being mindful of the fact that you're mortal. And the consequence of that is that you're free. All of that energy that goes into the repression of the fear of death is set free. Why should the awareness and the acceptance of death bring us to a fuller sense of wholeness? I think because it is part of the whole picture, and it needs to be integrated. We need to have a certain conscious space that is aware of our mortality, and even aware of the complete unpredictability, the randomness of our mortality. We don't know at any moment when we might die. So there should be a certain space in our available consciousness in which we welcome and accept this element of our mortality. And that makes us more whole, more integral. The awareness and the acceptance of death and the things we associate with it, like suffering and loss, these are not easy things to face, but if we do, the evidence is, from a great deal of research done with those who are dying, quite surprising. The evidence is that those who are dying, who have their basic physical needs cared for, their pain taken care of, and their psychological needs being met, in other words, maybe tying up the loose ends of their lives, or, reconciling with their relatives who they haven't spoken to, or saying sorry, or whatever, that if this natural physical and psychological work is being done, then the people who are dying, who have now accepted that they're dying, will say, I've never been happier. quite amazing. So health, we might say then, is better understood positively as an experience of wholeness that incorporates even what seems like its opposite: sickness, suffering, and death. These would normally be said to be unhealthy or opposed to health. But actually, acknowledging and accepting them doesn't mean you go looking for them, but accepting them when they are there seems to be an essential part of the healing process and leads us to a greater wholeness and a greater health. Surely death and aging are experiences where we are given a unique and new approach to meaning. And if we deny the reality or the nature of death or of aging or suffering, then we are denying ourselves the very lifeblood, really, of the human journey, which is meaning. It's growing in understanding and in experiential understanding of the meaning of our existence. These are major sources of meaning for human beings. Sport gives us another insight into what we mean by health and wholeness. Like the ancient Greeks, we admire the human body at its most beautiful, fast, agile, strong, and athletic. Today still, look at the huge amount of coverage sport gets, the heroes, the gods that we make out of our successful athletes. The sportsmen and sportswomen who reach physical excellence and had the control of mind also, of course, that inner discipline to be able to use that physical excellence to perform at a peak level, are as close as we come to an idea of the gods. But recently, we've been educated to look at a less idealized form of sports divinities in the Paralympics. Now we watch men and women in wheelchairs or with artificial limbs performing extraordinary feats, not going as fast or jumping as high, I suppose, as in the regular Olympics, but we bring a different kind of admiration, a certain level of this of physical admiration, of course, but also even more admiration of the character and the determination and the spirit of the people who had dealt with their disabilities so incredibly and courageously, acknowledging and accepting in themselves what would make most of us despair or withdraw from life. Looking at a person who is acknowledging and accepting and transcending or integrating the very things that for most of us would represent failure or a cause for despair. And those stories of those athletes just inspire and elevate us. So then perhaps we understand from that example how health is not just the absence of problems, pains, or disabilities, but health is our capacity for wholeness, in which everything, including illness or disability, can and must be integrated, including the very things that we find and fear most undesirable: sickness, suffering, and failure. And that, I think, helps us to understand why meditation is a healthy practice, why it contributes to health at every level of our humanity. We know from the benefits that meditation brings and some research that has been done, it's very variable research, but research being done into the physical benefits of meditation, that it is good for you physically, and that can be measured. We also know that it has a very strong impact upon our psychological health and well-being. And as soon as we begin to be sensitive to the spiritual dimension, we can begin to understand how meditation promotes, if you like, spiritual health as well. You may be attracted to meditation because you want to de-stress. You know that stress is a big problem in your life. You can't sleep properly at night, it's affecting your relationships. So meditation seems, now, all this research, it will help me reduce my stress, or immediately I can measure this with my blood pressure, even my cholesterol, and my sleep patterns. Psychologically, I know that the benefits of meditation will be felt in dealing with depression or anxiety attack and other forms of stress. These benefits of meditation, the ones you can measure, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, frequency of your panic attacks, even to some degree your depression. What strikes me, though, interestingly, is that the medical practitioners that we've been working with recently are not particularly impressed by all this medical research. I mean, they're aware of it more or less, and they know meditation is good for you, but they're approaching it actually from a much more holistic perspective. We don't see the whole effect of meditation if we look just at a part of ourselves. But the major effect of meditation is, of course, a healing of this very way of seeing ourselves as fragmented, as measurable bits. So it's the meditation itself that changes the way we see ourselves. We call it self-knowledge. So meditation changes the way we see ourselves. That's perhaps the biggest effect it has. And it serves to heal the fragmented self. It reintegrates and it leads to a growing sense of wholeness. And that's why meditation is very relevant to every aspect of our idea of health, physical, psychological, and spiritual. Complementing our understanding of the benefits of meditation, we find also the fruits of meditation, the spiritual fruits of meditation. St. Paul calls the harvest of the Spirit, or the fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, fidelity, gentleness, and self-control. How can you measure love or joy or peace or patience or kindness? Nevertheless, you can experience them, and you know that you are changing in this respect, and that these qualities, which with a deeper understanding you can recognize as the qualities of the life of the Spirit flourishing in you, and even if you don't know at first, the people you live with will know. We heard these wonderful words from the Gospel of John, giving Jesus these words: God sent his Son into the world, not to condemn the world, but so that through him the world might be saved, so that everyone who believes may not be lost, but may have eternal life. We've heard those words, no doubt, many times, and I think for the vast majority of the population, they are rather overfamiliar or too churchy or lacking in meaning. But the meditator is able to listen to those words from a different perspective, from a different experience, and see meaning in them. If we're experiencing life from our whole self, we have this health growing within us. And I think these words can become amazingly life-giving words. There is a connection between the idea of health and salvation. Salve, which is a healing, salve like an ointment. So there's a connection here in the meaning of the words that becomes clearer to us when we listen to them from the experience of our own healing, of our own discovery of what health means, and of our own emerging wholeness. Meditation helps us to see life as a journey to wholeness, or holiness. And holiness simply means sharing in the life of the one who is holy, the one who is one, the one who is whole.